name is Kyle Robertson, and I'm a principal management consultant with Helios HR. Helios is a human resources consulting firm with a recruiting practice based in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. As a consultant, I have the opportunity to work with hundreds of clients across industries, but because I'm in the DC area, many of those clients are government contractors. And that's what I'm going to focus on today, government contracting and the relationship that should exist between business development and the recruiting or talent acquisition function. So, as I work with my clients, I hear over and over again recruiting is broken. We're not performing on our contracts. I can't tell you how many times I hear this. I go in and I do recruiting assessments and look at process improvement. And that's what I find time and time again, that business development and talent acquisition are really siloed from one another. And so I want to talk today about three things that are critical to your organization if you are a government contractor. One is embedding your talent acquisition function into your business development strategy. The second thing I'm going to talk about is education and communication. And the third thing I'm going to talk about is prioritization. So let's take embedding and integrating the recruiting or talent acquisition function into your business development strategy. So most times what happens is a government contractor has the BD team working on identifying target markets, deciding who they're going to put a bid forward on or put a proposal forth to. And then what happens is the recruiters don't find out about this until 2 weeks out. 2 weeks out from when they need to have folks, they need to have contingent offers, things like that. So in this talent landscape, it is virtually impossible to be able to identify a multitude of people in a very short period of time, especially in a difficult landscape. And if you're talking about cleared recruiting, you can forget it. It's just these people are not lying around. It's a very competitive market, and you need to have a strategy to be able to identify and attract and retain folks. So that being said, what a lot of companies do that have a robust recruiting department is they'll have a designated recruiter for their business development team. And so if you've got several recruiters, one definitely should be assigned to work with that business development team solely. And that begins literally before you've even identified your target markets. So you're going to bring your recruiter in, they're going to sit in those strategy meetings, and they've got a lot of intelligence that you can tap into. So for instance, let's say you're going to bid a contract that's looking for, you know that you're going to have to hire 100 software developers that are cleared. And this is going to be done somewhere in Kansas. And there's not a huge amount of those folks that are there. The recruiter has access to tools and intel where they can find out what that demographic looks like in a particular area. And it's critical to know these things up front so that you know whether or not you're going to be able to perform on that contract. So if you decide, yes, we're still going to do this, we're going to move forward, even though we know that the talent pool doesn't exist, it's not robust in a particular area, then that recruiter can go back to their team and say, look, we need to have a strategy. We need to workforce plan. We need to have relo budget. We need to have different things that can attract talent. And we need to put a strategy together. And they know that a year out. So it is extremely critical to have, like I said, a recruiter that's designated to that business development function that understands what's going on at the time that it's happening and into the future, and they can forecast. So I spoke with one of my associates. Her name is Kat Silver. And she used to be the talent acquisition manager for a very large government contractor that is a DoD contractor in the cleared space. And they were failing. They were really, really struggling with their recruiting. And it was because of this very thing that I'm talking about, business development coming to them in the 11th hour and saying, we need 20 of these people, by Monday next week. And they couldn't do it. They couldn't deliver on it. So they went ahead and they took one of their recruiters and they designated them specifically. They called it a proposal recruiter. They designated it specifically for the BD team. And what was beautiful about this, and she gave me an example, was they had a contract that was a large, large contract. They knew if they won it, they were going to have to hire on about 1,000 people. 300 to 400 of those were going to be in Kat's business unit. But she said because the recruiter was involved with the BD team months and months and months prior to this award, they were able to workforce plan and strategize. They brought in contractors to help not only with the recruiting function, but also the administrative function, because this is a huge task just to even badge and onboard people like this. So it really was a team effort, but there was a strategy that was built out way in advance so that they could perform on this contract, because after award, they only had 60 days to get folks in seats. So this was a success story and an example of what is possible when you plan in advance. Not every company has the budget to be able to support a designated person that just works with business development. So the next thing that you can do is educate, educate and communicate. And what I mean by that is, it's important for business development to talk to recruiting about their target markets. Who are the targeted clients that they're going after? Because then recruiters can go ahead and look at competitors and try and capture folks and start to build a pipeline from competitors of those target markets. The other thing that they learn about is timelines. They should always be discussing timelines. Hey, it looks like we're going to bid on this. This is when it's going to drop. These are the kinds of folks that we need, the types of positions that we need. These communications can still happen pretty consistently, even if you don't have a designated recruiter with business development. So you can have a point of contact, which could be an HR manager. It can be a talent acquisition manager. Somebody needs to be designated that can run point on this, that can bring that intel back to the recruiting team. If you have a recruiting team of one, this still happens. There still needs to be this communication, and it needs to be deliberate. It needs to be built into your schedule. There needs to be weekly meetings, updates. They always need to know what's going on so that they can build in time in their weekly schedules to forecast out workforce strategy for upcoming bids, proposals, awards. So the third thing I wanted to talk about is prioritization. So not every not every position is going to be filled. It just isn't going to happen. We do the best that we can, but they're not always going to be filled. So that's where prioritization is critical. So let's say that we've got funded backfill positions. Those are priority because that's directly tied to revenue. And let's say we've got add-on positions. Again, those are tied directly to revenue. But when we have a task order that a recruiter has been given a week's notice on, the chances of being successful with that task order in lieu of filling those backfill positions or those new positions on a contract that have surfaced are slim to none. And so why would you risk the revenue producing opportunities to ones that are just sort of throwing spaghetti on the wall? So it's really important to make sure that your BD team is prioritizing and having those discussions with recruiting so everybody is aligned on the same page. The bottom line and the point of this conversation is just that a relationship needs to exist. And so many times these functions are siloed from one another. So if you want to have a successful recruiting function that works well with business development, the relationship is essential and it has to be there. Thanks so much.